Hello, and welcome to RearView Motorsports. I am Mr. Teacher, and this is the Ange the Great Engine Simulator. Pretty fun software to mess around with, and in my personal opinion, very useful for educational purposes as well, which is why we are here. Today, we are talking about ignition timing. What the heck does that mean? First things first, we got to know what is ignition. So this right here is a single cylinder Honda four-wheeler engine. We'll make it a lot bigger so y'all can see it a lot better. We're going to start it up, turn the ignition on, hit the starter. And this being a single cylinder engine is going to have a little bit of quirks you're not really going to see in an automotive engine. Doesn't have a very stable idle. Ignition timing itself could be a little bit different than you would see in a car, but it would be very similar. But ignition itself, as we hit the slow motion button right here, is perfect timing right here. You'll see as the piston comes up to the top, that flame front right there. Right here there would be a spark plug. In a diesel it would just run straight off compression. This would be a fuel injector. But that flame front that we see, speed it up so we can get another one, is the gas and fuel mixture, or the gas and air mixture burning in the cylinder. And ignition timing, ignition itself, is that spark plug creating a spark, 20, 30, 60,000 volts of electricity going through that plug that ignite the air and fuel mixture in the cylinder. And here we can actually see the flame front move through the cylinder as the piston goes down. Realistically, scientifically, it would be more of a hemispherical shape moving outwards in all directions, not the square boxy shape we see here, but this is a computer program, so that's pretty effective right there. And this is 2D. The whole thing would be 3D in real life. Cylinders are round, not square. But ignition is just the system that controls the spark plug and when the spark plug fires. Ignition timing is the specific time that that spark plug actually goes off. And in reciprocating piston gasoline engines, we measure ignition timing off of the positioning of the crankshaft. Right now we are pretty much at bottom dead center. Piston is all the way at the bottom. The crank pin, where the connecting rod right here attaches to the crankshaft, is all the way at the bottom. Up to the top right here is top dead center. That is what we measure ignition timing off of. Top dead center of the cylinder. Most of the time, including this engine right here, this is just the factory engine that came in this software, our ignition timing is at idle, I believe, 10 degrees advanced of top dead center. So you'll see as we come up on our compression stroke right here, right before we hit top dead center, that spark plug's actually going to fire. And we're not going to go, there it was right there. We're not going to go super in depth today. Here we can see the amount of time we actually have flames in the cylinder. As that flame front goes away, this turns off. We're not going to go super in depth into all of the intricacies of what ignition timing does to the efficiency and power output of an engine. We're just going to talk about what it is and some of the basic stuff that goes along with it. So this engine right now, again, is running at, I believe, 10 degrees advanced. So right now we're going to go ahead and open up another engine that is running at 0 degrees of ignition timing, so we can see what that looks like. So we get her fired up. Rev it up a little bit just so we can hear what it sounds like. Go to our slow motion and we'll speed it up on our way up in the compression stroke. We are compressing this fuel and air mixture right now. And at 0 degrees of ignition timing advance, we will have the crank pin all the way up exactly top dead center when we see that flame front start to spread through that cylinder. That again is when the spark plug fires. That is 0 degrees. Almost every gasoline engine ever made, if not every gasoline engine ever made, runs on a little bit of timing advance. So this is a circle. Being a circle, we have 360 degrees of crankshaft rotation from top dead center to top dead center. So the earliest we can possibly go, theoretically, is 359 degrees of timing advance, which is absolutely just doesn't make any sense. It's just random math numbers in there. But the usable space we have, we can only really fire the spark plug sometime on or around the compression stroke close to top dead center, because we need that flame front to heat up and expand air in the cylinder to push the piston down. If you spark it too early, you're fighting the piston moving up in the cylinder. The piston is going to slow down a lot because pressure in the cylinder goes up way too fast, and it literally tries to turn the piston around on its way back up and spin the engine backwards. If you have timing that's too late, you won't be able to use effectively that flame front in the cylinder, and you might actually still be burning air and fuel as the piston goes back up with the exhaust valve open to push all of the exhaust out of the exhaust port of the engine. So that is what 0 degrees of timing looks like. We're going to go ahead and take a look at 40 degrees advanced. So same engine, the only thing that has changed is the ignition time. Let's hit our super slow-mo. We are going up in the cylinder right now on the compression stroke. Both valves are closed. And right here, a lot before top dead center, quite a ways, we start burning that fuel and air. One of the first things you'll notice is that the piston is not quite as far down when the flame front goes away. That can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. The first thing you need to know about that is when you want your flame front to go away depends on the state of the engine. What RPM you're at, how much load you're under. We're sitting in neutral at idle, not moving, throttle valve closed, at 12 to 1400 RPM, give or take. That idle number is very inconsistent. You can see right there, we'll slow it down a little bit. We have an almost 200 RPM difference, and that is going to be one of those things that's affected by this being a single cylinder engine. You add more cylinders, you can get a lot smoother of an idle. But as we put it under load, go ahead and put it back to this screen so you can see what gear we're in. We're going to start rolling a little bit. So right now we're cruising in 5th gear at about 2000 RPM, throttle valve closed. Go ahead and open it up. Still sitting at 40 degrees advanced. At increased engine speed with a lot more dense air in the cylinder, that throttle valve being open, we're running closer to or at ambient air pressure instead of a vacuum. Slow it down a little bit more. This is our compression stroke. We have ignition, and you will see a little bit farther on piston movement, actually quite a bit, before our flame front completely goes away. We're almost 3/4 of the way down the cylinder. We get rid of slow-mo and let it rev up a little bit higher, about 4000 RPM. Let it go again. Hit the wrong button again. About to go up on our compression stroke, so let's just see what happens. We have ignition. And at higher engine speeds, you'll see that the flame front burns farther through the piston stroke. So what you'll see with most engines, as we put this thing back in neutral, is as engine speed increases, and if you have the means to do it, as engine load increases, you put more, make the engine work harder, ignition timing can be advanced farther to get a little bit more efficiency out of the actual fuel being injected or pulled through the carburetor into the engine. And that's what most engines run at. If we look at the files for the factory engine, we start at 10 or 15 degrees advanced timing at idle, and as we hit 2000, 3000, 4000, that goes up from 10 to 15 to 20 to 30. I think that the highest or the earliest timing we have on the stock engine is 35 degrees advanced. Let's go look at the other way. This is the opposite of advanced, in the automotive community professionally referred to as retarded timing, because it is after the piston hits top dead center. There is not necessarily any circumstance where this would be advantageous over advanced timing. Let's see if this even runs. It does not run. Throttle's completely open. Thing won't even idle. So we're going to have to go to -30. See if this one works. There we go. Still won't idle, but we can look at it under throttle. So this is our compression stroke right here. Nope, that's the intake stroke. All right. So up on our compression stroke right now, I'm holding the throttle open because that's the only way to keep it running. We are approaching top dead center. We are at top dead center. And decently past top dead center, there we go, we get our ignition and actually start burning fuel and air. Initially, you'll notice that we do get a lot farther down where we're actually burning fuel, but this might actually show us what it's like if the exhaust valve opened before this hits the bottom. Exhaust valve is moving. So the last, what is that, 20 degrees of crankshaft rotation on the way down, we open the exhaust valve while we're still burning fuel, sending all of that pressure just straight out of the cylinder. And that is basically 100% wasted combustion right there. So let's see if we can get this thing under load at RPM. This is the highest it wants to go. It will not rev any higher than 12 or 1300 RPM. And if I close the throttle, it just dies. But that, in essence, is what ignition timing is. In a future video, we will talk about a lot more of the finer details of how and when ignition timing changes, why it changes, and what different engine configurations can use different ignition timing setups straight out the box. Again, this being a single cylinder engine, it's a lot more difficult to run advanced timing that's too advanced because we only have one piston trying to fight through compressing that fuel and air and the flame front moving down the last bit of the power, or the last bit of the compression stroke, versus something like a V8 where you have at least two cylinders on the power stroke pushing the rest of your pistons through each one of their strokes at the same time. But that's all we got for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.